Ladies and gentlemen, your energy is a silent architect of your life. It's not just the hours you work, the people you meet, or the tasks you complete. It's the force that animates your vision, shapes meaning, and sustains resilience. And yet, too often, we hand it away like loose coins, spent on distractions, drained by negative forces, surrendered to emotional leeches who feed on uncertainty. The modern world is teeming with cheap energy drains. 1. Click dopamine junk food, endless comparison feeds, reactive conversations, power plays. They're subtle but corrosive, quietly pulling down your internal voltage until you're left blinking, disconnected from purpose. Energy isn't infinite, but it is renewable if valued and managed like the precious resource it is. You must treat it as if your life depends on it, because it does. To shield your energy is not selfishness, it's self-mastery. It's the sentinel that protects your capacity for change, creativity, integrity. It's an act of responsibility and design, and it starts with awareness. Notice where you feel depleted. Was it that last conversation where complaint landed like a moral weight? Or the news scroll that left you hollow and anxious? Or the loop of social comparison that made you smaller with each swipe? These are not neutral moments. They are energy drains that chip away at your ability to stand firm in purpose. When you decide to walk away, or refuse to enter their orbit, you reclaim that currency. You sharpen the weapon of your focus, your clarity, your resolve. Protecting your energy requires boundaries, not aggression or walls, but disciplined gates. You do not let anyone speak to you in ways that erode your character, because what you permit, you empower. You do not consume content that rewires your mood toward despair or envy. You do not linger in environments that demand emotional extortion. You have permission, no obligation to preserve your inner climate. This is not avoidance. This is stewardship. It also demands self-care, non-negotiable acts of replenishment. To reset, you must step away. Silence your phone. Read a passage that stretches your understanding. Write one paragraph that matters. Walk in solitude. Feel the presence of your own breath. Even the lobsters in Peterson's example understood dominance begins with posture. Stand tall, breathe fully, let the serotonin soothe the fight or flight. You also rewire your nervous system when you choose restoration over noise. You send a message to your brain, this is worth protecting. Your energy is tied to meaning. When you align your actions with purpose, you feel energized even when life demands more of you. But when you betray your values, say yes to meaningless work, toxic relationships, hollow pleasures, you drain it, you disconnect from your directional compass, you become vulnerable to every gust of circumstance. The strongest way to protect energy is to choose your intentions with precision, so that each action is a deposit into your account of meaning, compounding, toning, strengthening. You will be tested. A family member who complains, a colleague who leaks negativity, a friend who demands your emotional labor. Initial impulse may be to comply, to smooth the relational friction, but consider your account balance. If your resilience is low and their need is high, who is more deserving of protection? Sometimes you must say, I can't do that right now. Sometimes you must turn down the invitation, not because you don't care, but because you do. Because you care deeply about being whole enough to help someday, and not hollowed out by today. And yes, you will feel guilt for choosing yourself, but guilt isn't inherently valuable. It's a signal, an internal boundary alarm. Question it. Is this guilt your own, or has someone else's expectation cocooned around your choice? Learn to let necessary guilt rewire your behavior, reminding you of your commitments, and to reject guilt that drains you without cause. This is not weakness, it's strategic discipline. Each boundary, each pause, each step back from noise is a mental squat. You build resilience, you cordon off reserves for creativity, leadership, care. You return brighter, stronger, more present. You become a person not easily knocked aside by chaos. Chaotic energy seeks to pull your attention outward incessantly. Protect your source by turning inward, anchor in your commitments. Ask, where does my energy serve me? Where does it leak? Where does it grow? Pull the weeds, water what matters. A clear mind is fertile ground, a crowded mind is burnt earth. And only through good management do dreams sprout. This management is not grand or flashy, it is mundane. It is morning routines, quarterly goals, weekly resets, digital fasts, high-value rituals. It is the everyday soldier's march, not the hero's stance. But this is what creates heroes over time, ordinary focus, stacked day on day. That is how energy is preserved. That is how greatness is built. That is how you live a life anchored in meaning, not one buffeted by every breeze. Carry this mission with you today. Identify 3 drains you're going to neutralize. Name 1 habit you'll build to restore yourself. And treat this mission with the seriousness it deserves. For in protecting your energy, you protect everything that matters, your purpose, your relationships, your power to shape what comes next. Your energy is sacred. It's the bedrock of clarity, the currency of discipline, the fuel behind every purposeful act. When it's spent unwisely, on noise, reaction, comparison, you find yourself flat, dull, unable to engage with what matters. This isn't just poetic language. Psychology calls it ego depletion. Your mental resources get used up like a muscle exhausted after a workout. Meaning once you've flexed your self-control, it takes time and intention to replenish. Imagine waking up with a mountain to climb, your project, your vision, your deep purpose. But your blade is dull. You spent yesterday reacting to emails, skimming social media, avoiding discomfort, giving your best self away. Now your attention fractures, you can't focus, decisions feel heavy, emotions flare. That, in the psychology lab, is ego depletion in action. Studies show that after 45 minutes of self-control, parts of the brain actually doze off, impairing decision-making and self-restraint. What's more, a tired mind doesn't just slow, it becomes short-sighted. It gives in to impulses. It chooses the easy path. Research finds that after exhausting tasks, people are more likely to make poor decisions, be less cooperative, and more impulsive. That's what burnout looks like. Not drama, but quiet erosion. So what do we do about it? First, awareness. Track where your energy is draining. Was it that toxic conversation, that irritating scroll, that mindless check-in that led nowhere? These are not negligible moments. They are multiple tiny debits on your internal account. And in the framework of conservation of resources theory, resource loss hurts more than resource gain helps. Wikipedia, yet real energy protection requires alignment. Are your daily actions fueling meaning or feeding emptiness? When you wake, let your first moves matter. Journaling on purpose. Reading something resilient. Not getting sucked into someone else's agenda. Studies show self-affirmation, grounding in values, buffers depletion and restores focus. When you reconnect with your why, you refill the tank. The monster is decision fatigue. When you make too many choices without rest, you make worse ones. That's why habits are freedom. By automating your routines, you reserve valuable energy for meaningful choices, like what fights to take and what visions to build. When you treat your energy like a treasure, you think twice before spending it. You'll ask, is this worth my attention? If not, you redirect. You design rituals that ring true. Midday walks, quiet evenings, limits on screens. You prevent burnouts before they spark. Energy then becomes a fortress. Not for protection from the world, but to sustain clarity when you need it most. To listen fully to someone you care about. To push through a creative block. To make a hard decision. To speak a truth. It isn't about conserving endlessly. It's about preserving enough so when your moment comes, nothing steals your focus. Culture values hustle, and hustle will take your energy until nothing is left. But wisdom sees hustle through a new lens. You don't run every race, you pick your track and race well, because your energy, once committed, should carry meaning, not just motion. And yes, there will be days when reserves run dry. That's okay. That's natural. You rest, you recalibrate, you return. The resilient mind sees those times not as failure, but as signals. Time to pause, not quit. It knows that strength is not about perpetual output, but consistent alignment. The world is loud. It demands everything at once, but clarity doesn't live in noise. It lives in intentional simplicity. Choose 3 or 4 North Star actions for the day. Let everything else drift. That's how you preserve your vitality, not by willpower alone, but by design. To protect your energy is to assert leadership over your life. It's to say, my health, my purpose, my potential is that which must be guarded. And when you protect that, you protect everything, your relationships, your work, your capacity to create and even to heal. This is the practice of self, mastery disguised as self-care. It's not indulgent. It's structural, it's the daily fidelity to your capacity, and it begins when you see your energy not as something unlimited, but as the most precious asset you possess. You become deep, intentional, resilient, and from that well, greatness flows. Here's the \1000 word expansion on ***. Boundaries are acts of self, mastery, ***, inspired by Jordan Peterson's clarity and motivational tone, enriched with psychological insight and without headings or a concluding sentence. Boundaries are not walls. They are declarations of who you are and what you stand for. They are the guards of your inner citadel, showing the world that you respect your time, your mind, your growth. When you fail to set them, you surrender your power in slow motion. You wake up drained, resentful, reactive. Without boundaries, your energy, your attention, your integrity, everything, leaks into the lives, needs, and dramas of others. Psychology confirms this. Boundaries help delineate how much emotional support or engagement is appropriate, preventing burnout and resentment. Real simple one. They build your sense of security, increase self-esteem, and foster respectful relationships. Real simple one. Without them, you are adrift, defined not by your purpose, but by other people's expectations. To set boundaries effectively, you first must know yourself, your needs, your values, your limits. Real simple one. That comes through honest self-examination. Which conversations leave you flat? Which obligations leave you bitter? Which environments drown out your voice? Knowing your boundaries, your emotional, mental, and physical limits, is the first act of self-respect. Jordan Bates 2. Once known, boundaries must be communicated clearly and consistently. Jordan Bates 2. A single refusal is not enough. You must stand firm. Saying no is not selfish. It's sculpting your life around what matters. A study of emotional well-being shows that asserting no increases self-trust and reduces anxiety. Because each time you respect your boundary, you reinforce respect for yourself and train others to respect you too. Boundaries are learned through practice, even awkward practice. You don't need long justification. A short, firm, "I'm sorry, but I can't commit to that" works. You build competence in self-care through these lessons, and in doing so, you internalize that your energy, your values, they matter. Real simple one. Jordan Peterson likened a healthy household to a walled garden, not isolation, but a protected space where growth and play can flourish daily. Wire 3. In the same way, your mind, your purpose, your capacity to engage meaningfully with life, these require guardrails. They require a clear perimeter around what you will allow inside. That clarity reduces chaos and anxiety, creating fertile ground for flourishing. Unclear boundaries invite exploitation or resentment from others and yourself. You might think accommodating every need is being kind, but if it costs you your focus or your values, it's theft. Clear limits don't reject connection, they foster it. Partners, colleagues, friends know how to engage with you without crossing your limits. That mutual respect deepens relationships. Boundaries are also internal. They govern how you treat yourself. One of the most toxic forms of boundary violation is self-neglect, skipping sleep, overeating, people-pleasing, spreading yourself too thin. Treat yourself with the same care you would a loved one. That means saying no to distractions, staying true to your commitments, and setting routines that honor your purpose. That discipline cultivates autonomy, core pillar of self-determination theory. Very well. Mind 4. When you act in alignment with your inner values, your sense of control and internal motivation skyrockets. Boundaries are the scaffolding for that alignment. They anchor you. You'll hear resistance. Guilt, you're too rigid. You're disappointing others. That's your inner fear warning you of disapproval. It's not who you are. It's who you fear becoming if you stray from your values. Hold firm. Over time, guilt subsides, replaced by self-respect and inner peace, and those who truly care will adjust. Wikipedia 5. When others push back, you learn who respects you and who doesn't. A boundary tested is a relationship's authenticity filter. Some will step back. Others will appreciate your clarity. That's valuable knowledge, and it frees you to invest in what builds mutual trust. Boundaries also accelerate your growth. They help you structure your days, when you'll rest, create, learn, connect, act. Without them, life fragments. You become a ferry between everyone else's demands. You lose yourself, but with structure. None. Negotiables. You build habits that compound, reading, reflecting, practicing, serving. And that's how mastery begins. Boundaries guard your attention, your sacred resource. They let you choose where to focus. Distractions scatter energy. You become shallow, but with focus you dig deep. You think, you build, you create impact. The modern world cajoles you toward shallowness. Boundaries reclaim depth. They also protect your mental health. Treatment studies show clear values. Based boundaries reduce anxiety, depression, and emotional exhaustion. You sleep better, you feel purposeful, you carry clarity into every domain. Work, relationships, creativity. Boundaries align with dignity. To stand up for yourself is to claim your worth. The posture of respect. Calm voice, firm tone, consistent action. Radiates self-respect. And how you treat yourself signals to the world how they can treat you. Setting boundaries is not an event. It's habit. You renew them daily. It's reasserting that your life is yours, that your focus is yours. Your feelings are yours. You treat them as responsibly as a gardener tends the land. Over time, the fences you build bear flowers, fruit, stability. They are silent testaments to yourself, mastery, and self. Mastery isn't ostentatious. It's quiet. It's ordinary focus stacked over time. It's the confidence of knowing your rules, your commitments, your truth. It's the calm competence that others sense. It's how you build a life that means more, not just more noise or more busyness. Here is an expanded /10000 word exploration of the keynote ****. Replenishment is essential, not optional, ***, incorporating scientific insights and motivational narrative. Your energy isn't a bottomless well. It's a resource, finite and precious, that powers every choice, emotion, and action. Think of willpower like a muscle. Scientists like Roy Baumeister have shown that exerting self-control exhausts a mental muscle, or restore, leaving you depleted and vulnerable to weak choices and burnout. PubMed Central 1, Wikipedia 2. This phenomenon, known as ego depletion, reveals a critical truth. Unless you intentionally replenish, your internal strength wears thin, and your ability to stand firm fades. In the clinical world, when someone suppresses emotions repeatedly or decides against temptation, their capacity to stay regulated decreases not from character flaws, but from energy fatigue. On a long day, exhausted by decisions, even judges grant fewer favorable rulings without breaks, illustrating how depletion affects judgment and empathy alike. Wikipedia 3. If that's true for judges, imagine its impact on ordinary days burdened by relentless choices. Without replenishment, your potential erodes. Research also shows recovery is possible and essential. After just 10 minutes of rest, people's self-control rebounds to baseline levels. ResearchGate 4, Science Direct 5. Another study found even brief breaks, vicarious restoration, or stepping into restorative environments help replenish so-called regulatory resources. Science Direct 5. The message is clear: rest isn't optional, it's transactional. You replenish energy so you can sustain effort. One powerful tool is shifting your type of attention. The attention restoration theory, introduced by Rachel and Stephen Kaplan, explains how nature, with its soft fascination like moving clouds or rustling leaves, lets your directed attention rest. Positive psychology. Calm 6. Directed attention, the effortful focus required for purposeful work, gets fatigued. Nature's effortless stimulus offers cognitive rest. PubMed Central 7. Treatment studies repeatedly confirm that after nature exposure, people perform better, think clearer, and regulate emotions more effectively. Wikipedia 8. Even short breaks matter. Studies observing students reveal that intermittent breaks during difficult tasks restore directed attention and support. Learning Taylor and Francis, Online 9. Cognitive performance dips as you stay focused, but rest restores clarity. Without these breaks, even simple tasks feel heavy, and decisions cost more than you can afford. Replenishment shows up in everyday life. Stretching attention fatigued by pacing work with rest. Taking a walk, pausing for reflection, restores mental power. It's not about luxury. It's about sustainability. Your brain is calling for pause, not because you're lazy, but because focus is a resource that must be refilled. But rest isn't limited to passive recovery. Positive effect, like watching a funny video, practicing self-affirmation, or savoring small rewards, actively restores capacity. When you affirm your values or connect with joy, the brain recovers much faster than mere idle rest. Emotion and cognition intertwine, they heal together. Self-care routines also play a vital role. Sleep restores both hormonal balance and inhibitory capacity. Light spiritual or creative moments soothe the neural friction caused by constant control. Healthy food, hydration, posture, and movement. Simple acts of discipline build reserves. The lobster metaphor holds. Posture affects chemistry. Chemistry informs mood and resilience. When you fail to replenish, decision making, self-control, and compassion degrade, leading to irritability, impulsivity, exhaustion. Simply Psychology 10. Expect anger where none should be, temptation when the goal is clear, regretted choices in the name of short-term ease. Long before burnout becomes visible, cracks appear in character. Replenishment is prevention. To build replenishment into your life, start with habit. Slot short pauses after heavy decisions. After a focused session, step outside without your phone. At midday, close your eyes, breathe, recall your purpose. Once a week, spend deliberate time in nature. Give your directed attention permission to rest. Use self-affirmation too. Psychology shows that reflecting on what matters to you, your values, your purpose, buffers against depletion. Journaling, reading inspiring lines, or speaking alignment into your day resets your motivation and energy faster than prolonged work. Importantly, treat mental restoration like training. Just as athletes recover between workouts, your mind needs recovery after workouts of willpower. Rest in between isn't weakness, it's strategy. Without it, you lose strength and stamina. With it, you build capacity. This means saying no to the glorification of busyness. Hustle culture celebrates depletion, but it neglects longevity. Instead, design your schedule intentionally, blocks of focused work interspersed with replenishment rituals. That is sustainable hustle, productive without collapse. There will be days when you're running on low. That's okay. Use those days to replenish deliberately. Short walks, easy tasks, quiet reflection. So you can rebuild reserves for the next climb. Resilient people don't guilt themselves, they adapt rhythmically. In the long run, replenishment yields clarity. You see problems with perspective. You respond instead of react. You make better decisions, treat people better, and hold your center even as storms hit. You find the stillness within action. To protect your energy is to respect the structure of your mind and body. It is to honor what you carry and steward it wisely. Every deliberate breath, every reflective pause, every walk in nature, they are investments in your inner capital. They are defenses against entropy, and they are essential, for without them, you empty yourself into every demand until nothing remains.